Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prashnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prashnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Ashtatya Deshatarine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Ashtatya Deshatarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhaktavinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhaktavinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada ki jai, Gansara Srimad
Hey,
Bhagavatam ki jai,
yay.
Gaur Premanande.
Hari Bo. They've arrived.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Bhakta Adam is here. Hari Bol. Kalaji is here. Hari Bol.
Hari.
Haribo, Hare Krishna.
All right. Getting the band back together here. Okay. Canto 1, Chapter 6, Text 25. 1625 is where we will start today. And I'll do the invocation. Please repeat. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudirayat Shrinvatam swakata Krishna punya shravana kirtana Hridyantasto yabhadrani vidhunoti suhrit satam Nashtaprayashvabhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya Bhagavatyutama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. Alright. Canto 1, Chapter 6, Conversation between Narada and Vyasadeva, Text 25. Itavarukva pararamatan mahad bhutam nabho lingam ishvaram aham cha tasmai mahatam mahiyase shirsnavanamam vidadhe nukampitaha. When that supreme authority, personified by sound and unseen by eyes, but most wonderful, stopped speaking, feeling a sense of gratitude, I offered my obeisances unto him, bowing my head. Purport. That the personality of Godhead was not seen, but only heard, does not make any difference. The personality of Godhead produced the four Vedas by his breathing, and he is seen and realized through the transcendental sound of the Vedas. Similarly, the Bhagavad Gita is the sound representation of the Lord, and there is no difference in identity. The conclusion is that the Lord can be seen and heard by persistent chanting of the transcendental sound. Namanyanantasya hatatrapapatan guyani bhadrani kritani chasmaran Gambharyatang stushtamanagata spriha Kalam pratikshan vimado vimatsaraha. Thus I began chanting the holy name and fame of the Lord by repeated recitation, ignoring all the formalities of the material world. Such chanting and remembering of the transcendental pastimes of the Lord are benedictory. So doing, I traveled all over the earth, fully satisfied, humble, and unenvious. Purport. The life of a sincere devotee of the Lord is thus explained in a nutshell by Narada Muni by his personal example. Such a devotee, after his initiation by the Lord or by his bona fide representative, takes very seriously chanting of the glories of the Lord and traveling all over the world so that others may also hear the glories of the Lord. Such devotees have no desire for material gain. They are conducted by one single desire, to go back to Godhead. This awaits them in due course on quitting the material body. Because they have the highest aim of life, going back to Godhead, they are never envious of anyone, nor are they proud of being eligible to go back to Godhead. Their only business is to chant and remember the holy name, fame, and pastimes of the Lord, and according to personal capacity, to distribute the message for others' welfare without motive of material gain.
Okay, so how it says that they're conducted by only one desire to go back to Godhead, and he even says it's the highest aim of life. Is it not true that because he does also say in the Bhagavad Gita, and there's a lot on this idea that liberation isn't the highest goal, and he says that the Mahatma doesn't even wish to go back to Goloka Vrindavan. They just want to serve or something like that, or they just want to chant, something like that. I'm not seeing that distinction here. I don't really know why that is, that there's a distinction made in some places but not in others. And I would like to know more definitively about which path I should follow.
Well, both are right. It just depends on where you're at.
Okay.
Because this is the desire to go back to Godhead is good,
Yeah.
but as we make more advancement, then actually we become more selfless in our desires of just wanting to please Krishna. So that's a very advanced stage. So if the motivation of, the basic motivation of, getting detached from sense gratification, mental speculation, if we're not quite free from that, and the motivation of going back to Godhead helps us do that, that's good. So it's just basically this. They're not necessarily contradictory. It's just like this is like, speaking at, kind of. It's like a more introductory level, basically.
Okay. Okay,
But
nice.
but yeah, I mean, going back to Godhead means engaging in devotional service. Means hearing, constantly hearing, chanting the holy name of the Lord. Means acting for Krishna's pleasure. It means the same thing, except it's just more of a general, uh, you know, way of putting it.
Nice. Okay. I really like that. Thank you. Appreciate you.
Uh, Text 27. Did I finish that purport? Yeah. Their only business is to chant and remember the holy name, fame, and pastimes of the Lord, and according to personal capacity to distribute the message for others' welfare without motive of material gain. Text 27. Evam Krishna Mater Brahmana Saktashyam Alatmanaha Kala Pradura Bhutkale Tadit Saudamani Yata. And so, O Brahman Vyasadeva, in due course of time, I, who was fully absorbed in thinking of Krishna, and who therefore had no attachments, being completely freed from all material taints, met with death, as lightning and illumination occur simultaneously. Purport. To be fully absorbed in the thought of Krishna means clearance of material dirts or hankerings. As a very rich man has no hankerings for small petty things, so also a devotee of Lord Krishna who is guaranteed to pass on to the kingdom of God, where life is eternal, fully cognizant, and blissful, naturally has no hankerings for petty material things, which are like dolls or shadows of the reality and are without permanent value. That is the sign of spiritually enriched persons. And in due course of time, when a pure devotee is completely prepared, all of a sudden the change of body occurs, which is commonly called death. And for the pure devotee, such a change takes place exactly like lightning, and illumination follows simultaneously. That is to say, a devotee simultaneously changes his material body and develops a spiritual body by the will of the Supreme. Even before death, a pure devotee has no material affection due to his body's being spiritualized like a red-hot iron in contact with fire.
This answers one of my questions, which was about I was wondering about how I was wondering if we already had a spiritual body or if something happened, but he clearly says that the spiritual body developed at that point, which is nice. The other thing I was wondering is how can one know if they're fully like if I was fully absorbed in the thought of Krishna, would I just know it? Or like how do I know like what does it mean to be fully absorbed in the thought of Krishna fully?
Um, Let me see. There's so many different ways to answer that, but yeah, you'd know it.
Okay.
Just like you know whenever you're full from eating,
That's right.
automatically. But I think Prabhupada is going to maybe touch on the topic as we go on here, maybe. We'll see. And if not, maybe we can talk more about it.
Nice.
Okay, text 28. Praryujamane mane mayitam shudham bhagavatim tanum arabdha karma nirvano nyapatat pancha bhautikaha. Having been awarded a transcendental body befitting an associate of the personality of Godhead, I quit the body made of 5 material elements, and thus all acquired fruitive results of work, karma, stopped. Purport. Informed by the personality of Godhead that he would be awarded a transcendental body befitting the Lord's association, Narada got his spiritual body as soon as he quitted his material body. This transcendental body is free from material affinity and invested with 3 primary transcendental qualities, namely eternity, freedom from material modes, and freedom from reactions of fruitive activities. The material body is always afflicted with the lack of these 3 qualities. A devotee's body becomes at once surcharged with the transcendental qualities as soon as he is engaged in the devotional service of the Lord. It acts like the magnetic influence of a touchstone upon iron. The influence of transcendental devotional service is like that. Therefore, change of the body means stoppage of the reaction of 3 qualitative modes of material nature upon the pure devotee. There are many instances of this in the revealed scriptures. Dhruva Maharaj and Prahlad Maharaj and many other devotees were able to see the personality of Godhead face to face, apparently in the same body. This means that the quality of a devotee's body changes from material to transcendence. That is the opinion of the authorized Goswamis via the authentic scriptures. In the Brahma Samhita, it is said that beginning from the Indragopa germ up to the great Indra, king of heaven, all living beings are subjected to the law of karma and are bound to suffer and enjoy the fruitive results of their own work. Only the devotee is exempt from such reactions by the causeless mercy of the Supreme Authority, the personality of Godhead. Kalpanta idamadaya shayanim basyudan vitaha shishayasura nupranam vivishentaraham vibho. At the end of the millennium, when the personality of Godhead, Lord Narayan, lay down within the water of devastation, Brahma began to enter into him along with all creative elements. And I also entered through his breathing. Purport. Narada is known as the son of Brahma, as Lord Krishna is known as the son of Vasudeva. The personality of Godhead and his liberated devotees like Narada appear in the material world by the same process. As it is said in the Bhagavad Gita, the birth and activities of the Lord are all transcendental. Therefore, according to authorized opinion, the birth of Narada as the son of Brahma is also a transcendental pastime. His appearance and disappearance are practically on the same level as that of the Lord. The Lord and his devotees are therefore simultaneously one and different as spiritual entities. They belong to the same category of transcendence. Sahasra yuga parayante utayidam sasrikshataha marichi mishra rishaya pranibhyoham jajagire. After 4,300,000,000 solar years, when Brahma awoke to create again by the will of the Lord, all the rishis like Marichi, Angira, Atri, and so on were created from the transcendental body of the Lord, and I also appeared along with them. Purport. The duration of a day in the life of Brahma is 4,320,000,000 solar years. This is stated also in the Bhagavad Gita. So for this period, Brahmaji rests in Yoga Nidra within the body of the Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, the generator of Brahma. Thus, after the sleeping period of Brahma, when there is again creation by the will of the Lord through the agency of Brahma, All the great rishis again appear from different parts of the transcendental body, and Narada also appears. This means that Narada appears in the same transcendental body, just as a man awakes from sleep in the same body. Sri Narada is eternally free to move in all parts of the transcendental and material creations of the Almighty. He appears and disappears in his own transcendental body, which is without distinction of body and soul, unlike conditioned beings. Antarbahischa lokang stream, Aryemya skandita vrataha, Anugrahan Mahavishnur Avigata Gati Kvachit. Since then, by the grace of the Almighty Vishnu, I travel everywhere without restriction, both in the transcendental world and in the three divisions of the material world. This is because I am fixed in unbroken devotional service of the Lord. Purport. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, there are three divisions of the material spheres, namely the Urdhva-loka, topmost planets, Madhya-loka, midway planets, and Adho-loka, downward planets. Beyond the Urdhva-loka planets, that is to say above the Brahma-loka, there are material coverings of the universes. There are the material coverings of the universes. And above that is the spiritual sky, which is unlimited in expansion, containing unlimited self-illuminated Vaikuntha planets, inhabited by God himself along with his associates, who are all eternally liberated living entities. Sri Narada Muni could enter all these planets in both the material and spiritual spheres without restriction. As much as the Almighty Lord is free to move personally in any part of his creation. In the material world, the living beings are influenced by the three material modes of nature, namely goodness, passion, and ignorance. But Sri Narada Muni is transcendental to all these material modes, and thus he can travel everywhere unrestricted. He is a liberated spaceman. The causeless mercy of Lord Vishnu is unparalleled, and such mercy is perceived by the devotees only by the grace of the Lord. Therefore the devotees never fall down, but the materialists, that is, the fruitive workers and the speculative philosophers, do fall down, being forced by their respective modes of nature. The rishis, as above mentioned, cannot enter into the transcendental world like Narada. This fact is disclosed in the Narsingha Purana. Rishis like Marichi are authorities in fruitive work, and rishis like Sanaka and Sanatana are authorities in philosophical speculations. But Sri Narada Muni is the prime authority for transcendental devotional service of the Lord. All the great authorities in the devotional service of the Lord follow in the footsteps of Narada Muni in the order of the Narada Bhakti Sutra, and therefore all the devotees of the Lord are unhesitatingly qualified to enter into the kingdom of God, Vaikuntha. Devadatam imam vina swarabrahma vibhushitam Orshayidva harikatam gayamanas And thus I travel, constantly singing the transcendental message of the glories of the Lord, vibrating this instrument called a veena, which is charged with transcendental sound and which was given to me by Lord Krishna. Purport. The musical stringed instrument called the veena, which was handed to Narada by Lord Sri Krishna, is described in the Linga Purana, and this is confirmed by Srila Jiva Goswami. This transcendental instrument is identical with Lord Sri Krishna and Narada because all of them are of the same transcendental category. Sound vibrated by the instrument cannot be material, and therefore the glories and pastimes which are broadcast by the instrument of Narada are also transcendental, without a tinge of material inebriety. The seven singing meters, namely Sa, Sajja, Ra, Rishabha, Ga, Gandhara, Ma, Madhyama, Pa, Panchama, Da, Daivata, and Ni, Nishada, are also transcendental, and specifically meant for transcendental songs. As a pure devotee of the Lord, Sri Narada Dev is always fulfilling his obligation to the Lord for his gift of the instrument, and thus he is always engaged in singing his transcendental glories and is therefore infallible in his exalted position. Following in the footsteps of Srila Narada Muni, a self-realized soul in the material world should also properly use the sound meters, namely sa, re, ga, ma, and so on, in the service of the Lord by constantly singing the glories of the Lord, as confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. Pragayata svaviryani tirtapada priyashrava ahuta iva me sigram darshanam yati chetasi. The Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, whose glories and activities are pleasing to hear, at once appears on the seat of my heart, as if called for, as soon as I begin to chant his holy activities. Purport. The absolute personality of Godhead is not different from his transcendental name, form, pastimes, and the sound vibrations thereof. As soon as a pure devotee engages himself in the pure devotional service of hearing, chanting, and remembering the name, fame, and activities of the Lord, at once he becomes visible to the transcendental eyes of the pure devotee by reflecting himself on the mirror of the heart by spiritual television. Therefore, here, I'll read that again. Here's the answer to your last question. As soon as a pure devotee engages himself in the pure devotional service of hearing, chanting, and remembering the name, fame, and activities of the Lord, at once he becomes visible to the transcendental eyes of the pure devotee by reflecting himself on the mirror of the heart by spiritual television. Therefore, a pure devotee who is
Amazing.
Therefore, a pure devotee who is related with the Lord in loving transcendental service can experience the presence of the Lord at every moment. It is a natural psychology in every individual case that a person likes to hear and enjoy his personal glories enumerated by others. That is a natural instinct, and the Lord, being also an individual personality like others, is not an exception to this psychology, because psychological characteristics visible in the individual souls are but reflections of the same psychology in the absolute Lord. The only difference is that the Lord is the greatest personality of all and absolute in all his affairs. If therefore the Lord is attracted by the pure devotee's chanting of his glories, there is nothing astonishing. Since he is absolute, he can appear himself in the picture of his glorification, the two things being identical. Srila Narada chants the glorification of the Lord not for his personal benefit, but because the glorifications are identical with the Lord. Narada Muni penetrates into the presence of the Lord by the transcendental chanting. Itadhyatura chitana matra sparseshayamuhu bhavasindhu plavo drishto haricharyanivarnanam. It is personally experienced by me that those who are always full of cares and anxieties due to desiring contact of the senses with their objects can cross the ocean of nescience on a most suitable boat, the constant chanting of the transcendental activities of the personality of Godhead. Purport. The symptom of a living being is that he cannot remain silent even for some time. He must be doing something, thinking of something, or talking about something. Generally, the materialistic men think and discuss about subjects which satisfy their senses. But as these things are exercised under the influence of the external illusory energy, such sensual activities do not actually give them any satisfaction. On the contrary, they become full with cares and anxieties. This is called Maya, or what is not. That which cannot give them satisfaction is accepted as an object for satisfaction. So Narada Muni, by his personal experience, says that satisfaction for such frustrated beings engaged in sense gratification is to chant always the activities of the Lord. The point is that the subject matter only should be changed. No one can check the thinking activities of a living being, nor the feeling, willing, or working processes. But if one wants actual happiness, one must change the subject matter only. Instead of talking of the politics of a dying man, one might discuss the politics administered by the Lord himself. Instead of relishing activities of the cinema artists, one can turn his attention to the activities of the Lord with his eternal associates like the gopis and Lakshmis. The Almighty Personality of Godhead, by his causeless mercy, descends to the earth and manifests activities almost on the line of the worldly man, but at the same time, extraordinarily, because he is almighty. He does so for the benefit of all conditioned souls so that they can turn their attention to transcendence. By doing so, the conditioned soul will gradually be promoted to the transcendental position and easily cross the ocean of nescience, the source of all miseries. This is stated from personal experience by such an authority as Sri Narada Muni. And we can have the same experience also if we begin to follow in the footsteps of the great sage, the dearmost devotee of the Lord. Yamadi bir yoga patai kamaloba hato muhu akunda sevaya yadvat tatat madhana samyati. It is true that by practicing restraint of the senses by the yoga system, one can get relief from the disturbances of desire and lust. But this is not sufficient to give satisfaction to the soul. For this, satisfaction is derived from devotional service to the personality of Godhead. Purport. Yoga aims at controlling the senses by practice of the mystic process of bodily exercise in sitting, thinking, feeling, willing, concentrating, meditating, and at last being merged into transcendence. One can control the senses. The senses are considered like venomous serpents, and the yoga system is just to control them. On the other hand, Narada Muni recommends another method for controlling the senses in the transcendental loving service of Mukunda, the personality of Godhead. By his experience, he says that devotional service to the Lord is more effective and practical than the system of artificially controlling the senses. In the service of the Lord Mukunda, the senses are transcendentally engaged. Thus, there is no chance of their being engaged in sense satisfaction. The senses want some engagement. To check them artificially is no check at all, because as soon as there is some opportunity for enjoyment, the serpent-like senses will certainly take advantage of it. There are many such instances in history, just like Vishvamitra Muni's falling a victim to the beauty of Menaka. But Thakur Haridas was allured at midnight by the well-dressed Maya, and still she could not induce that great devotee into her trap. The whole idea is that without devotional service of the Lord, neither the yoga system nor dry philosophical speculation can ever become successful. Pure devotional service of the Lord without being tinged with fruitive work, mystic yoga, or speculative philosophy is the foremost procedure to attain self-realization. Such pure devotional service is transcendental in nature, and the systems of yoga and jnana are subordinate to such a process. When the transcendental devotional service is mixed with a subordinate process, it is no longer transcendental, but is called mixed devotional service. Srila Vyasadeva, the author of Srimad Bhagavatam, will gradually develop all these different systems of transcendental realization in the text. Sarvam tarinam akyatam yaprashtoham tvayanagha janma karma rahasyam me bhavataschatmatoshanam. O Vyasadeva, you are freed from all sins, and thus I have explained my birth and activities for self-realization as you asked. All this will become conducive for your personal satisfaction also. Purport. The process of devotional activities from the beginning to the stage of transcendence is all duly explained to satisfy the inquiries of Vyasadeva. He has explained how the seeds of devotional service were sown. Haribol Bhaktasi. Hare Krishna. Welcome. We're in the purport of text 36 of chapter 6.
Dahoo.
Hari. He has explained how the seeds of devotional service were sown by transcendental association and how they gradually developed by hearing the sages. The result of such hearing is detachment from worldliness, so much so that even a small boy could receive the death news of his mother, who was his only caretaker, as the blessing of God. And at once he took the opportunity to search out the Lord. A sincere urge for having an interview with the Lord was also granted to him, although it is not possible for anyone to see the Lord with mundane eyes. He also explained how by execution of pure transcendental service, one can get rid of the fruitive action of accumulated work, and how he transformed his material body into a spiritual one. The spiritual body is alone able to enter into the spiritual realm of the Lord, and no one but a pure devotee is eligible to enter into the kingdom of God. All the mysteries of transcendental realization are duly experienced by Narada Muni himself, and therefore by hearing such an authority, one can have some idea of the results of devotional life, which are hardly delineated even in the original text of the Vedas. In the Vedas and Upanishads, there are only indirect hints to all this. Nothing is directly explained there, and therefore, Srimad Bhagavatam is the mature fruit of all the Vedic trees of literature. And it's just getting juicy. Sutta Uvacha Evam Sambhashya Bhagavan Narada Vasavi Sutam Amantriya Vinam Ranayan Yayo Yadurishika Muni. Sutta Goswami said, thus addressing Vyasadeva, Srila Narada Muni took leave of him, and vibrating on his Veena instrument, he left to wonder at his free will. Purport. Every living being is anxious for full freedom because that is his transcendental nature. And this freedom is obtained only through the transcendental service of the Lord. Illusioned by the external energy, everyone thinks that he is free, but actually he is bound up by the laws of nature. A conditioned soul cannot freely move from one place to another, even on this earth. And what to speak of one planet to another? But a full-fledged free soul like Narada, always engaged in chanting the Lord's glory, is free to move not only on earth, but also in any part of the universe, as well as in any part of the spiritual sky. We can just imagine the extent and unlimitedness of his freedom, which is as good as that of the Supreme Lord. There is no reason or obligation for his traveling, and no one can stop him from his free movement. Similarly, the transcendental system of devotional service is also free. It may or may not develop into a particular person even after he undergoes all the detailed formulas. That's an important point. It may or may not develop in a particular person even after he undergoes all the detailed formulas. Similarly, the association of the devotee is also free. One may be fortunate to have it, or one may not have it even after thousands of endeavors. Therefore, in all spheres of devotional service, freedom is the main pivot. Without freedom, there is no execution of devotional service. The freedom surrendered to the Lord does not mean that the devotee becomes dependent in every respect. To surrender unto the Lord through the transparent medium of the spiritual master is to attain complete freedom of life. Text 38. Adevarshir dhanyo yam yat kirtim sargadang vanaha gayan madyanidam tantriya yaturam jagat. All glory and success to Srila Narada Muni, because he glorifies the activities of the personality of Godhead, and so doing, he himself takes pleasure and also enlivens all the distressed souls of the universe. Purport. Sri Narada Muni plays on his instrument to glorify the transcendental activities of the Lord and to give relief to all miserable living entities of the universe. No one is happy here within the universe, and what is felt as happiness is Maya's illusion. The illusory energy of the Lord is so strong that even the hog who lives on filthy stool feels happy. No one can be truly happy within the material world. Srila Narada Muni, in order to enlighten the miserable inhabitants, wanders everywhere. His mission is to get them back home, back to Godhead. That is the mission of all genuine devotees of the Lord, following in the footsteps of that great sage. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the first canto, 6th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Conversation Between Narada and Vyasadeva.
Yay, yay, Haribo, Haribo.
Yay.
Yay.
Bhagavatam.
Ali,
Hari, Hari,
Jay,
Hari,
Ali,
Hari, Hari.
Hari,
Ali,
Hari, Hari, Hari,
Hari,
Ali,
Hari.
Hari,
Ali.
Hari. Well, it's a good stopping point. Start chapter 7 tomorrow. All glories to the Prabhupada. So we can still have a discussion.
Oh,
I thought that was a really important point. I'll just start with that one I singled out here. The transcendental system of devotional service is also free. It may or may not develop in a particular person even after he undergoes all the detailed formulas. So the way I was understanding that was, we have these formulas of how to develop bhakti more and more, and like, for example, Vaidhi Bhakti is a process of devotional service that's meant to increase one's bhakti to other levels, higher levels. And basically that one sentence just basically kind of clearly states that, even if we do all the things right, all the proper things in all the proper ways, it's still not a guarantee that even bhakti manifests for us. So, the point is that bhakti is totally independent. And let's see what else. Yeah, bhakti is independent. It's pretty amazing. The Lord so desires, He can immediately bestow upon us pure devotional service. If Bhakti Devi, or if the Lord, Himself, for whatever reason, doesn't will it, we can go on and on for lifetimes trying. It's pretty amazing. Yeah. Only by His pleasure, by His will, ultimately, can we.
but it is stated in Nectar of Instruction that there are things that that ensure the execution of pure devotional service.
Yeah, but it doesn't say when.
Oh,
Yeah.
I see.
Could be a million billion lifetimes. Eventually, yes. That is also a benediction, but yeah. Yep, that is true though. Anyway, that was the only main point I was thinking. The other one, obviously I love to talk about all the time is, over and over, we're still being told over and over and over again. Basically, by Narada Muni's example, basically what he's doing, and Prabhupada said directly, by following in the footsteps, by following the example, Narada Muni is basically, he's never ending on Harinam. He does Harinam, never ending, and he lectures. He's chanting the transcendental glories of the Lord, and he's singing with his vina, and he goes from place to place just to uplift the miserable living entities. And it's amazing. It's so simple, really.
Yeah.
Just keeping the vibration going. Yeah.
Sorry.
This is the whole test. The test of our, Prabhupada says, unflinching devotional service. Don't flinch. Just do. And as soon as we wake up, keep the vibration going, keep it going, keep it going. And in between, we might have habits. Okay, oh, it's almost bedtime. I'm going to lay down and scroll on my phone or whatever. Instead of doing that, find a way to, you could read or, find a way to keep the vibration going somehow or other. Use the phone even to turn on some transcendental sound vibration or something, Hear a lecture instead of something else. These things are not nothing. They're not nothing.
So if I'm talking to you about like this discussion, for example, is it true that any discussion by devotees regarding bhakti is the same quality as Krishna?
Yeah, I mean, given the consciousness and the devotees are sincere without ulterior motives and whatnot.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, because it's just like Mayavadis can quote Shastra, and envious
Right.
people or people can just dress. Anybody can like just put on a dhoti and memorize a shloka and put on a show of being a great devotee for whatever reason. And Prabhupada said that he's talking about the professional Bhagavatam reciters, and whenever they're doing it for their livelihood, um, basically he says milk touched by the lips of a serpent becomes also poisonous. So that's also there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and people have different levels of realization. Somebody may have a slightly twisted understanding. It might sound real good, but then subtly there can be all kinds of subtle implications to receiving that sound vibration from them. That's why it's so important for us to really hear Prabhupada's books and know all the ins and outs and the subtleties of Prabhupada's philosophy, how it applies in different circumstances. It's really important for us to fine-tune our understanding because, uh, different qualities of sound vibrations will render different results.
Nice.
All right. Any other points? Ouch.
Hmm.
Yeah. Hare Krishna.
I have a point actually. Just give me 1 second. Let me go grab the verse.
Okay. No problem. Today is a very exhausted day for some reason.
Okay. In the Bhagavad Gita, I don't know exactly which verse it is, but um, it's Krishna talking. The quote is uh, is all surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Everyone who follows my path, or everyone does follow my path in all respects, O son of Pritha. So it's interesting when we talk about like, you know, um, I guess like not everyone's Krishna conscious, but it seems like this verse is saying that everyone's like somewhat on the path to Krishna consciousness, but it depends on the level of surrender uh, that they have for Krishna. And I don't know if surrender means the amount of time that they spend being just like surrounded with Krishna and how much effort they put into like hearing and chanting. Um, that's like one form of surrender to me, or if it's like more of just like how much love they have for that process, if that's like the level of surrender. Because you can like do it all very mechanically and not really have much love into it. And so, yeah, I don't really know if it's like there's obviously levels to the love that you put into it and the feelings that you get out of it. And that's kind of what this verse is saying to me. Actually, is how much love you put in is how much reciprocation you'll get. So I want to hear what your like thoughts are on with that verse and what I said.
Sure. Um, well, I was just thinking about in a more broad way of um, even beyond like people practicing bhakti yoga directly, even to like other understandings, like to even into other religious systems and stuff. You know, uh, like we were hearing recently about how the Lord comes as Buddha, and the progression through over time. You know, according to where the people were at, how the Lord comes in different ways at different times. So, it's just I'm thinking of like different levels of surrender in general uh, to Krishna as we understand Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but he also is he's everything. He's a summum bonum. He's the absolute truth. Krishna includes him, all of his energies, all different manifestations, all these different things. So, like like Bhakti Yoga and like our Gaudiya Vaishnavism it's really a very high standard. And even within our own tradition, we have such like a broad net for people to practice at different levels. But, if someone is attached in certain other ways, then there's going to be like a different configuration for them. Like, if somebody's attached to, eating meat or some different thing, and like there's like a way that they can engage in devotional service or some kind of religious process where they can maintain their material attachments but also make have some kind of connection or some kind of process according to their desire. So anyway, like that's my thinking on that is like if we're mixed, based on our surrender, our desire, we're going to be attached to different material things. We're going to engage to different degrees and different ways, and Krishna reciprocates with that in so many different ways. But basically at the end of the day, I think it may be in the purport to that verse, or Prabhupada's explaining how all paths lead to Krishna. Might be another verse also like describing this, but because um, basically no path or ultimately no understanding, no practice is independent of Krishna. Even though it may be presented in a way where there's no understanding of Krishna or acknowledgement of Krishna for who he is or anything, we understand, without Krishna, all these things are incomplete. So, uh, so in that kind of way, at the end of the day, like all paths are leading to Krishna ultimately, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does make sense. Thank you. What do you think about what is surrender to you in Krishna consciousness?
Um, well, in this book, Shuddha Bhakti Chintamani by Shivaram Swami, it's the introduction. I bring this book up occasionally. I like this book a lot. Basically, that whole book is essentially about how surrender is directly connected with quality of hearing and heart quality. And basically, like, especially in this time right now, surrender really means submissive, attentive hearing. And, having the quality of heart to accept Krishna in and all his instructions and all his, different ways. And so, that really can only take place when we are not attached in material ways, like to the degree that we're attached and surrendered in devotional service, like to that degree, we're actually not going to be attached materially. So, anyway, surrendered. It'd be nice to look up the book definition of the word. But my understanding is like I give everything up for the purpose of whoever I'm surrendering to. So anyway.
Yeah, it makes me think of the sacrifice of the mind. Like when you say like how attentive we are with the hearing, like how focused we are, like how much of our mind are we willing to like put towards the object.
Right. But the mind really is going to follow the heart.
Mm.
The mind is only going to be able to focus. I mean, we can try, like we just heard, we can try to do it in a mechanical way, if like forcing it. But at the end of the day, I mean, we're gonna, we're gonna have to go with where our heart's desires are, And if it's not like, maybe we can like artificially force it for some time, but, it's generally not sustainable. Or, we can do it in a sincere way, but generally we are gonna, this is also like what Vaidhi Bhakti does, help push us towards like Raganuga Bhakti. It's like we go from doing it in a mechanical, artificial way to actually becoming more spontaneous from the heart, where we don't have to force it anymore. So, how that looks, it might vary from person to person. I've observed a lot in like brahmacharis who are like really serious brahmacharis for a long time. They'll come to a point where they'll really start. They'll have like some shift where usually like about the time like they start getting married and stuff. it's like they start having different challenges and different things, and it's kind of like when we're practicing Vaidhi Bhakti in like a mechanical, fanatical kind of way sometimes. We can it brings us to Raganuga eventually. So eventually it's like the way that it happens a lot of times is we're doing all these rules and regulations and practices and prescribed duties. And then, we might start really like having a hard time doing it, or like feeling really uncomfortable, or whatever it is, some challenge going on. And then by circumstance, by nature, by Krishna's mercy, we may be naturally propelled to engage in a different way. Okay, that's when the brahmacharis start thinking, I think I should get married, and or whatever it is. So, we're kind of forced to break out of the mechanical way of practicing. And Grihastha ashram is way different than brahmachari ashram. Grihastha ashram is you take on so many responsibilities and different things, and basically just hearing and chanting isn't really so easy because you have so many things to do. A lot of grihasthas, they struggle just to chant their rounds, but actually the grihastha ashram it doesn't have to be like that if we organize nicely, but nowadays most of the time it is like that. But by taking on doing one's duty, by working for Krishna, following certain principles, one can make progress in that way. Whereas if one stubbornly remains in being improperly situated, then actually they could become like stagnant, Anyway, so it's kind of interesting, the process of practicing Vaidhi Bhakti and practicing devotional service in a mechanical way, and how it can take one to deepening Krishna consciousness in the heart. A lot of times, all of our ability to practice the rules and regulations might be taken away. And we're left with nothing but maybe a little scrap of some determination to keep going. But in the process, actually, it looks like we're maybe going the wrong direction externally, but actually progress is being made internally. If we're sincere and we're really trying. So it's very interesting. Anyway, Hare Krishna.
One thing I've discovered is that at least it seems like, actually, I don't know if I can even use the word discovered. That's very Bosch because I'm not certain. But one thought that I had about the situation Christian's been putting me in is that I wrote it down. It is that Krishna has been testing not your ability, but your willfulness to utilize your ability. Like, how much of your ability have you been using? Like, he's not like getting rid of my ability necessarily, or maybe he is, but like the idea isn't to, the idea is that it's how much am I willing to give, even though things are kind of falling apart externally a lot of times. I don't know.
Well, Krishna says that he is the ability in man.
Yes.
So, like, it kind of boils down to, like you're saying, desire.
Yes.
With the desire, Krishna can give more or less ability. But this comes back to the point I was kind of making, is sometimes Krishna will retract your ability, but for the sake of maybe reorienting one's consciousness to take Krishna consciousness in a different way. If we're being too mechanical, sometimes he'll take away our ability. So because we're taking shelter of the external thing, taking shelter of the schedule, or whatever it is, and we're not taking shelter of Krishna. We're taking shelter of whatever the schedule. So
What's that? Sorry.
go ahead.
It's kind of a different topic. If you want, you can finish this topic.
Oh well, okay. Just I mean, yeah, I basically already said it. Krishna will take our ability away, but just to help us, like realize that, oh, we actually, that that's how advancement can look a lot of times. Anyway, it's the external process and the internal process going on simultaneously. So anyway, go ahead.
So, there's this verse in Bhagavad Gita. But I don't remember the verse or the purport. But I just remember there's a part of the purport that says that where Prabhupada says something about how like the entire human race is thinking that they own the world, that the world is made for the human race, but it's not made for the human race. And he says it's like about proprietorship and things like that and surrender. And I was just wondering if maybe you could like help me find that verse. You probably read the Bhagavad Gita more than me. I was asking AI. AI was not giving me good answers.
I don't know immediately. I'll have to look it up. I have
It's
to do
okay
it like after this probably.
if you want to. It's up to you.
Yeah, no problem. There's actually a few sections I think where that's mentioned.
Oh, nice. I remember there was one where like we were reading it and it was like I think we read it again or something. I don't remember.
Yeah, if you look it up. Ooh. Any other points from our esteemed stalwarts?
Hare Krishna.
Hare.
Grateful for everyone's association and wanted to share the mood of encouraging well wishes for everyone's bhakti, seva, and sadhana. And the concept with surrender, I feel bhakti, seva, sadhana, if we are surrendered in our hearts towards that or enlivened to be engaged with, then we're doing what we can. That's the best we can do. And you know, that brings up the focus of the mind, which is oftentimes shifting depending what's in life every day, all these things. But Krishna gives us so many blessings and mercy and grace, mercy from spiritual teachers, association, grace helps us through. So yeah, keep on sadhana seva bhakti.
Yeah.
Yeah, Haribol.
Hare
Thank you
Krishna.
for your reading, Prabhuji. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, it's a good point. And then, yeah, there's this verse, the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam. Let me see. Oh, you know what? I can't remember which one it is. No, I can remember which one it is. Just bear with me. I think it's 12. Nope. Maybe Bhakti Adam, you know that which verse was it that talks about invoking attraction for devotional service? Shrama
In the
Eva.
purport, or in the verse?
What number verse was it? It's in the verse.
Uh,
Shrama Eva Hi Kevalam.
no, I wish I knew. It's a famous verse. I think I've heard it sounds too familiar. Do you remember the verbiage at all?
Uh, that which does not provoke attraction to the devotional service of the
Oh,
Son
that's
of Godhead.
Prabhupada says that a few times. He says that in
Okay,
Bhagavatam
it's
at least
verse
once.
number 8 of chapter 2. Dharma swanushtata pumsam visvaksena kata suyaha notpadayad yadida tim shrama eva hi kevalam. The occupational activities a man performs according to his own position are only so much useless labor if they do not provoke attraction for the message of the personality of Godhead. When Kala Prabhu was sharing that, I was thinking, you know, uh, we have a natural way that we're attracted to devotional service individually. I may have a particular way, and my way is different than the next devotee's way, and 10 different devotees might have 10 different ways they're naturally attracted. And so, like, uh, to just find one's natural way of attraction will automatically generate, the inspiration for executing that sadhana and devotional activities and whatnot. And, because there might be a mechanical way where I'm trying, and like getting burnt out, like burning ourselves out. But in my experience, and I'm just trying to kind of also just add to what Kala Prabhu was saying, sometimes it's just as simple as like just a mental shift of like, for example, chanting 16 rounds. Where you're like, oh, I got this discipline, and I got to chant my 16 rounds, and I'm like trying to finish my rounds, and I chant 16 rounds of, like not very attentive rounds because I was too worried about obtaining the number of rounds. Whereas sometimes if you just forget about the number and just focus on the hearing process or whatever, your natural way of attraction for hearing and chanting, then actually it can just immediately completely change the whole game. And and usually, we might be worried about time or whatever, but if we like chant in such a way that we're naturally attracted, the quality will be infinitely better. And oftentimes we find that when the quality is better and we're really tasting it, then uh, time doesn't really there's always time. And there's no reason why we can't chant every day, but enough. It's usually like state of mind that kind of prevents us. So anyway, I was just thinking of that verse when you said that. Maybe Kala, if you're willing, able and willing, maybe can you say anything about the this topic of like engaging mechanically, but like shifting gears to a more from the heart space of chanting?
Yeah.
Yeah. So feeling in the heart, that's where our initial mood is attracted to Krishna. We should just come at it with that mood. And that the more that we are present in that, knowing that the more we're chanting, the more we're serving Krishna every way, this is the highest things that we can do, you know, not just for ourself, for our own benefit, but for all, you know. So that brings like a lot of things for me in the day will transpire where it's not that I have to chant these rounds. It's that I want to chant these for Krishna, for all the devotees, for all of creation. And in this vibrational way, we're making it something deeper than just our own self gain of liberation or something, which actually was a point that was made earlier where they were talking about, we were speaking about people, maybe engaging in a certain way, being willing to go to Goloka Vrindavan, you had the chance, or come back. But here we are. We're here right now. So why not make the most of it in that way? Serve with love to all those around. And if we make that our seva and part of our sadhana, no matter if we're cooking food for people or helping with some projects or chanting on our own, it's nice to feel that it's all collectively bringing bhakti from our heart applied directly, and that's a strength.
Yeah, it's all based on desire.
Mhm.
So interesting.
Yeah, and when our desires aligned like that, then then we're working our best to practice our best in bhakti and Krishna consciousness. So we're all still human. We still struggle day by day. Different things happen, but really, the more you focus, it's easier to come back. 2 seconds, your mind's in one way. Get through that, and you're able to adapt and bring yourself back to center and back to consciousness that we're focusing to be in.
Back to ecstasy.
Yeah. Again, thank you for the reading. Thank you, everyone, for the association. Very grateful.
Yours is amazing, Prabhuji.
Yay. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jay.
So, any last words?
Pay for that ruchi.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
All right. Thank you, Prabhuji, so much. Always Prabhupada. Vanchakopa Trubhishcha.
Utruvesha
Kripa
kripa
Sindhubhyevacha.
sindhuvevacha
Patitanam
patitanam
Pavanebhyo
pavanebhyo
Vaishnavebhyo Namo
vaishnavebhyo
Namaha.
namo namaha.
Anatakoti Vaishnavrinda ki jai.
Jay.
All right, Prabhujis. Hope you have a good
Lee.
evening. And we'll see you tomorrow, hopefully. Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.